Okay, everyone. This weekend I came across another $100 tool haul, and I'm curious to get your guys' opinions on it. I went to this gentleman's house not too far from where I live to pick up this drill press or to take a look at it. He had it listed for $100. I asked him, "Hey, are you negotiable?" He said he was. So I went over there and I took a look at this and I agreed on a price for $75, and then while I was there, I ended up talking to him about the table it was sitting on, which you can see here. Really nice, sturdy steel table, and all these other little goodies that you see on there, as well as a motor you don't see on there, which I'll share with you. So, not sure I got a great deal, but I'm curious to get your guys' opinion, and I'll show you how it came about. So I don't know a lot about these types of drill presses, but I did know that this meant it was a variable speed drill press, and I could see that it was missing something there maybe to engage it, but I figured, hey, if it runs well, I could probably engage it from behind or so forth, and I'll take a look at that with you guys in a minute. But what was great was I got to hear it run, and so let's hear what it sounds like. Runs really strong. It runs very true. Don't see an ounce of wobble in it. I'll show you the motor as I take you through it. This is a 5/8 Jacob Chuck, and I was looking for a 5/8 drill press to upgrade with power from the Craftsman that I restored recently. It's just underpowered, the Craftsman I have, and it's just got too much of a run out for me, to be honest with you, and I never use it. Yeah, I could upgrade the motor on it, but hey, that's a story for another day. I thought this would be a great option if I could get it away for $75. So with all that, I saw it was running. I said, hey, I know it weighs a ton. I said, what do you want for the table and the motors and the other goodies? I offered him $100 for everything, and I thought I did, pretty well until I got home. And let me show you what's going on behind the drill press here. So I heard it run nice and strong. I get behind here and I look and I see it's got this fancy pulley on it. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know much about this, but yeah, that seems like maybe what controls the speed. There's got to be a way to maybe engage it here. As you can see, there's some sort of nut up here. Maybe I can manually engage it since it doesn't have the piece in the front. I took a look at the pulley up here. I know there's other models that have some sort of belt that runs from here to here, or and so forth. Like I said, not too knowledgeable about these types of drill presses, so I figured, hey, for $75 it runs strong, be a great thing to try and bring home and play with. Well, I get home and I start doing homework on this, and this is basically the same model Delta's made over the years. This is the Walker Turner, which by Rockwell, and Walker Turner basically got bought out by Rockwell, I believe in the 40s, and they used the Rockwell Turner branding with Rockwell in the 50s. So I date this back to the 50s, long story short. So I bring it home and I start reading about these variable speed pulleys, and this thing's completely been butchered up. You can see back here, they actually cut the bracket that used to run back here. There's supposed to be another variable speed pulley back here. So this was modified to just kind of work, and it only works at one speed. The way this used to work was when you would adjust it, there was like a rack and pinion in the front where you saw where that hole was, and this whole unit would lift up and lower. And right now it's in the lowest position, and as it would go up, this would expand, making the spindle in the front smaller and the spindle in the back bigger, and vice versa. And that's how it was a variable speed. So this up here, I don't know why it was up here. I have some thoughts. It's a different size pulley, and and this was not on here. This is not supposed to be here. It was just basically a nut up here that helped this mechanism ride up and down. My thought is, though, that this can go back here, and that's why they put it up here. And if that's the case, this could be a really good functioning drill press for me, because as you saw when I ran it, just a little bit too fast for what I'm looking to do. That would be probably good for wood, soft things, but if I want a nice powerful drill press like this, it's probably to drill more into harder materials and steels and use larger size drill bits and so forth. So I'm hoping if I swap this out with this, and I'll do that here in a little bit. I have yet to try it. That it will slow it down, and it could be a pretty serviceable drill press. Quick look at the motor there. This is a Dayton half horsepower capacitor motor, and they're not cheap. So just having this strong motor like this was probably worth the money that I paid for it. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you is this tag that was on it that says 5/8 Acme square thread, and I'm assuming they're referring to the thread that's in the motor. I don't know. If you guys know, let me know about that. My guess is that this gentleman who I bought it from, his father who passed away, who was selling this, bought this at a garage sale, or maybe an auction. Had to be an auction, and I'm assuming that was the tag that was on it. And he probably paid less than I paid for it, that's for sure. But like I said, I think with the motor and all the components on these things, I probably did all right if I could get it to work at a slower speed. So here I am taking off that pulley. I wanted to try that smaller one that was sitting on the top of the drill press, which I showed you earlier, to see if it would slow down the drill press and at least make it functionable in one speed. If you see in my hand there, I love those Craftsman. They were made by Pratt Reed, those Allen key made in the USA screwdrivers. They're great, got a whole set of them. As you can see here, I'm struggling to get that pulley on because it's the wrong size diameter and I do not have a bushing to fit. So that experiment did not go well. I put the pulley and belt back on, and look what happened when I ran it. Look at that variable speed pulley at the front. Look how it's separating. That's because the pulley that was sitting on there on the top was actually used to hold it in position. And look how when it got wider like that, it actually sped up the speed of the drill press. And I just want to show you to look at the quill. It's just so beefy, right? That's a nice big quill, and it works great. It's freed up. Everything on this drill press is very freed up. So I got to get that pulley back on top and compact that. Look how it's spread there. I got to compact it back down. So I compacted it back down the way it was, and it's running the same now as it was before. Basically what I had to do was just kind of gently bang on the top of this as it was running, and it compacted that spindle down in position. So I got basically three options at this point. I got this locked back down. I can, and you can see here, it's even on an angle. That's not great either, right? That needs to be leveled out at some point. I can do that if I get I guess my options are this. I could put a smaller spindle on here, and it should slow it down to a nice speed where it's not super slow, but it'll be a really good universal speed. That's probably, that's one option. My other option is leave it, just the way it is, and it runs at a decent speed, but this is really more for just wood at this point. Probably burn up some bits if I use them into metal at this speed. And my third option is to really take a close look and maybe pull this off and put just a traditional step type spindle on it, like most drill presses have, and a step one in the back here as well, and make it more like a traditional drill press. Another thing I wanted to point out here is that this drill press doesn't have a bracket on the motor to make it go in and out to tighten the tension on a belt if I did go that route of doing like more of a traditional step spindle or on the top and back, or pulley I should say. And I don't even know if that's an option because I don't know what that spindle looks like on the front that goes to the quill and all of that, if I could even put a step pulley on there. But even if I put a smaller one on here, I could adjust it, as you can see here. I could adjust the screws, but it's not, the bolts I should say, and I could always put bigger bolts. But once it's set, it's going to be kind of set. So that's one of the drawbacks of being that it was modified from a variable speed drill press. I kind of wanted to point that out as well. Like I mentioned, though, everything on here is really freed up. Even the deck works really well. Everything spins, everything's freed up. You can lift the deck up and down. The quill's free. Everything on it is free. And that's something that, makes me think that this was used up until, the guy passed away, and maintained, at least from a working perspective. This was modified to be a user, not, not a showpiece. What's cool about this is not the greatest design, this handle. Obviously, you'd like one that has, maybe 3 or 4 type wheel spindles coming off a wheel. But the way this works is you could actually adjust this, which is kind of neat. So you see how that works? Like I said, everything on here is freed up. So if you like it in that position, you could adjust it. Obviously, this is an aftermarket, just piece of aluminum in there. So I could do some pieces with it, clean it up. It's missing the threaded nut that goes on there. No big deal. Really like that the buttons and the controls are in the front. As you can see, everything's freed up, and it works, from that standpoint, fantastic. So the way the gentleman built this table was that the drill press would actually, face towards the camera. See the way I had to move it because I positioned it this way in my garage, but the drill press was supposed to face towards the camera, so envision that. And then this motor, and it would be over to this side. And then this motor was shifted up a little bit and sat a little bit where the drill press is. And then what that motor ran was this really cool vintage, and I believe it's a Walker Turner from what I could tell. How ironic is that? Mini lathe, a wood lathe. So let me pull that out of there. I just kind of got it sitting there so we can take a closer look at that. So this is like a 30-inch wood lathe, and it is a cool vintage lathe. And once again, everything really freed up wonderfully. The one thing I did notice when I looked at these online, because I had no idea about these and if there was any value in them, they did have a different spindle here, where it had a few different sizes on it. But this thing worked great. He showed it to me when it was hooked up, and it worked off this switch down here. You just flip that switch on, and the wires are all there to run that motor, and you had a great wood lathe. I'm assuming this is a live center. It might be a dead center. I don't know. It looks like it spins. I don't know, though. I have to learn about that. That's the tool rest. Don't know about wood lathes. The silver lining in all of this is this thing actually has got some value. It's not 100% complete because it's missing the one pulley thing over here, but if it was 100% complete, just like this in this condition, I saw one on eBay sold for $150. Sometimes the parts on these things are worth a considerable amount of money if I broke it up and sold it that way. I don't plan on doing that. This is something I think would be really cool to restore. I don't think I'm going to restore the drill press. I'm hoping to make it a real good user, not a show pony, and get that drill press, maybe at a really good, nice speed. And I just think that's what I'm going to probably do with. That's not worth restoring, being that it's missing all the original components. But this is something I'm looking to have some fun with. Here's that motor, ran like a champ. That is a 1/4 horse General Electric motor. And even those, I've seen some of those sell on eBay, $40 to $60 plus shipping. Finally, this was the last thing that was mounted on this table. And you gotta love when people customize, they build a table, a bench, to accommodate all the things they need, like drill press, lathe, and then ultimately a wire wheel. And this is a General Electric motor. It looks to be like a fan motor, and this ran smooth as could be, great as well. How to disconnect it to get it out of the basement, how to take all these things off, because this was built in a basement and had to be dismantled to get it out. But yeah, that's kind of, it built like a little speaker box around it to keep it enclosed, I guess, being that it was an unenclosed motor. Unenclosed or unshielded motor. Pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm wrapping this video up. Tell me what you think. I mean, really powerful, great motor. It's going to need some work on the pulleys to figure out what I'm going to do there. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. But it's working. I could use it as is. One more look at this really cool vintage wood lathe. I didn't show you this. It's got a little grease compartment there. I'm wondering if that is to lube the bearings, or if you use that for, I guess it lubes the spindle since there is no bearing, would be my guess. And it's in great working order and was working up to the minute I took it out of the basement. So the holes on the bench don't align now, because of the way I repositioned things. So as you can see here, it actually had like a little wood chute built in because the lathe ran this way and or that way, whichever way. It was really set up neat, but it just didn't fit the right way in my garage. I had this little corner towards the end of the garage, and because you can see the wall here is shot because I always had things leaned up against it. I didn't even realize how bad condition it was. It was like that when we bought the house, and I always kept like the rakes and stuff against there, so I didn't notice it. But yeah, it's right by the door, which I love. And make a mess, whether it's with the wood lathe or make a mess with the drill press, I could push it right out the door. And for that, I think it's in a great spot. All right, guys, tell me what you think. Did I get my $100 worth? I mean, just the bench alone, right? A nice sturdy steel bench. Got some shelving underneath, really functioning. Got the vintage lathe, the drill press, the motors. Got a couple of different motors here, as you can see. The two General Electrics, the fan motor, and the other motor there. I like to call those appliance motors. For some, they seem like they were in appliances all the time back in the day. And you know, $100 is subjective, right? Did I spend a lot or not? Because if you look at this ratchet, the SK extension, and the socket on the end of it, you know, you're looking at $150 probably right there. So it's kind of funny when you could get all of this for $100. But, you know, hey, there's still better deals probably out there to be had. The original chuck key I forgot to mention for the 5/8 Jacobs chuck. All right, guys, like and subscribe. See you at the next one.